Test 1, 2. The meeting of the Revere Board of Appeals for September 13th will now come to order. Roll call.
Mr. Bacilli. Mr. Corrin is absent. Mr. D'Angelo. Mr. Mazzoni.
Present.
Mr. Tucker.
Present.
A quorum is present. The first application before the board is application A1720. This is the application of Elvia Santizo, 15 Endicott Avenue, Revere, requesting maximum height, parking in the front yard, and exceeding the maximum driveway width of 20 feet to enable the appellant to construct a rear addition and convert the existing dwelling to a two-family dwelling on Lot 6 at 15 Endicott Avenue, Revere.
Just for the edification of the applicant, there is two members, there's one member missing and then the alternate. So one vote by this board right now would vote this down rather than two votes. So you do have the option to continue.
We understand. We'll
Okay.
present and I'll discuss with
Great.
you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, Joseph Katogia, 1 Sprague Street, Revere, representing the applicant, Ms. Santizo, who is seeking the variances indicated in the application. Ms. Santizo purchased this property back in the year 2000. As is not uncommon, she purchased it believing it was a two-family home. Has since learned that the unit that she had, the second unit that she had on the premises was not a valid unit, and petitioned the building department to validate the second unit. There is a program in the city where the second units can be validated, provided that the unit meets current code and standards and that the area is zoned for the use proposed. We did confirm that this area is zoned for two families. She did present plans to the building department, who required that she proceed to site plan review because an inspection of the property indicated that additional parking on site needed to be provided and a second means of egress for the apartment needed to be provided as well. When the plans were submitted, it was determined that variances were needed and they gave us a denial to come here. With regard to the parking and lot coverage, those go hand in hand. We do have some photos that kind of show the parking. They're a little better here. There is current paving in the front of the house that is already in place, that is already used for parking. That area is looking to be expanded. It would have been provided on the opposite side of the building, but as you can see, there is a curb cut, extended curb cut that's already in place, and there are side yard or lot limitations that would prevent that. So we would propose to just expand in with the existing parking area. I understand there was a question raised about the door there that would prevent us from using that immediate area. If it's allowed or required, we could expand even a little further over so that the parking is not immediately in front of that door, but that is an existing paved area already. With regard to the height, in order to provide the second means of egress, there was an addition that's needed in the back that would require that we not only build back but build up. The current height of the building, as best as can be determined, looks to be 30 or 31 feet. Now, one of the hardships that exist on this lot is that the lot slants upwards in the back. There is an increase in the elevation. So some of the foundation in the rear is in-ground. As it comes to the front, the land slopes down and it is more exposed. So on average, the current height would be less than 30 feet, but we anticipate that the maximum exposed area right now is 31. We are looking to go to 36 to allow the second means of egress to be properly installed. With regard to the resulting situation with the increase, we would still be below all adjoining properties. You can see by the pictures there that the houses to the immediate left and right are far exceed the height that we would be proposing. And obviously, the houses in the back are higher simply because it's on higher elevation. So we would not be imposing on anybody's sightlines. We would not be doing anything that is unsightly for the immediate area. And what would result, if these variances were approved, would be a valid two-family with all code restrictions met and all off-street parking provided. If, as indicated, if there's anything that we can do with regard to moving that fourth space without having to deal with an additional curb cut, we would be willing to do that and provide that fourth parking space in front. We obviously can't go to the rear, and we do want to provide, as required, 4 off-street parking spaces. So whatever the restriction or requirement of the board would be for that fourth parking space, we'd be happy to comply. We are here for any questions and hope that we can answer any concerns that you have.
Being a public hearing, I'll now open up to proponents. Anyone in favor? Please step up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Any proponents in favor? Kindly state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Giuseppe Amari, 39 Atlantic Avenue, Revere.
Okay, thank you. And are you in favor or opposed?
In favor.
Okay. Are there any other proponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, John Jufrey, 2 Bellingham Ave, Revere, Mass. But I also own with my sister that lives at 20 Bellingham Ave. I'm half owner on that house. I also have some signatures here from people that couldn't make it because their jobs, one of them actually has 2 jobs. The time is not, it doesn't jive. But a lot of people, including myself, are opposed. One reason being they just like to see the height restriction kept in place. People in the neighborhood before have had problems where they couldn't even get 9 inches added to a structure. The parking, and the width, that's another thing. There's no garage in front like the law requires for the additional, parking in the front, if I'm going by what it says here.
Garage.
Why does it say here, in the front yard with no garage exists within the R&B district?
They're asking for front yard parking. They're asking for a variance so they can have cars parked in the front of the home, which is not.
Yeah, but it says it's, unless they're looking for a non-compliance variance, I guess, because there is no garage.
No, because you can't park in the front of a home. It's nothing to do with the garage.
Okay, so that's...
But they're asking for a variance for that reason, yes.
Right, well, some other people,
Okay. If you have a list of people, you'd have to present that to the city clerk so we can validate it and look at it. No, you're here. You don't need to sign it because you're being listed.
Okay.
Okay, you can continue on. Is there anything else, or is that it?
Well, it's, the parking, the height restrictions, the curb cuts, these are things that neighbors in the general area have had to comply with. And they just like to see the city, it go in the same manner as the city has, done with them as far as curb cuts, parking, height restrictions, and other things.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I don't really get down to how to explain things.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other opponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Are there any members that wish to speak? Please press the microphone, Nick.
Is there an elevation drawing on what you people are doing?
I do have a set of proposed plans that does show,
Is that what they're doing?
yes, this is what they're doing.
Okay.
I can,
And is it a single family now or a two-family?
there's an invalid, illegal apartment that was in place.
In the basement?
At the time that she bought it. It's not in the basement, right? The apartment is on the second?
First floor, the second.
Right, but where's the apartment? The second floor, right, yeah. The basement and first floor are the main parts of the house. That's why the second means of egress needs to be in an addition that's coming, that it needs to elevate the house, because the apartment that we're looking to validate is on the second floor, not the basement. And for the record, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I did put a call into the ward counselor, left a message with my cell phone and phone, if there was any questions or concerns. I didn't receive any. I wasn't aware of anybody that had any issue with this at all. I didn't get a single phone call at any time with any opposition or even a question asking about what we were doing.
You can obtain a copy of that for the people that are opposed as well.
Thank you.
And I heard mention that they're going to widen the driveway more?
In order to fit the 4 spaces, we have to provide 4 9-by-18 spaces. Right now, the area that's paved covers a little more than 3. But in order to have the full width, we'd have to widen it a little
Facing in
further.
front of the house, you're going to go to the left, to the right?
We just expand on the pavement that's already down is what makes the most sense. Towards covering the lawn, which is why the variance for lot coverage is required, because we would be cutting into the ratio of covered to uncovered area.
So the grass area isn't being touched?
I have to show, it is going over to the grass area.
It is going,
But what's shown on the plan is the end result, what is proposed. You can see what's already there. It looks similar because we don't have to go over that much to get the full square footage. So it may look similar, but the plan that was submitted shows the full area that will be covered, will be paved. Right, with the application, not the house plans.
But you will be going, that's a city road, Endicott Ave? Okay, so you would be coming and requesting a curb cut?
I don't believe it's needed, because there is a sufficient, it's not just a one-car curb cut that's there now. If they require it, we would provide it with the construction, but it looks like there's enough curb cut to get a couple of cars in and out of there now, if you look at the photos. It's not just a one-car curb cut.
But the car that you're proposing to put on the grass area, which is probably going over about 5 feet,
Yes.
or it should be going over by 6 feet in order to get the 2 tandem parking away from a wall, because you need room to get out of the car.
If that was the
Technically, you
case,
can't.
and we would have to increase
Yeah.
the cut, we would do that, yeah.
Because technically, you can't get out of the car. I mean, it's right up above, it's abutting the fence line. Because when I was down there, there were 2 vehicles there in the parking space, but
Again, the current housing situation, there are only 2 cars, but we have to provide for 4 for the construction, so we will.
okay. Does any other members? I personally am going to ask that this be continued so that we can get a validation from the building inspector as far as blocking the egress downstairs. Because when I went down there, you could not park 2 tandem vehicles with the stairs there as well. Now, could they take out those stairs? Possibly. I just don't know then how they would get into the side yard of the house. Because that's where they go down the right side of the left side of the house. There's 3 little steps there.
Yes.
And you can't technically have two 9-by-18 spaces, you'd be out on the sidewalk.
Right, the door that's to the house is in the front of the house, not on the side. That's just to get access to the back. But if that's what's required, we'd
But
be happy
that's
to.
what I have to, I have to
Okay.
have the building department validate. We can't, in good conscience, allow an obstruction of an exit.
So you'd want us to either get them to say that's okay, or to move it over so that it's
To
open?
move it over, you'd have to pretty much go to the other side of the house in the elevation question, because that addition that's there now, you couldn't move it over to the right and have enough room.
No, we'd have to either take out that one closest spot altogether.
Yeah.
And go 4 across, or we'd have to move it over sufficient enough to just keep the walkway open. So, or have them tell us it's all right. I'd be happy to make
Yeah,
that
that's
determination.
the only concern that I had. Anything else as far as side yard, rear yard, elevation, the elevation is actually minimal to the units beside it.
Yes.
So I don't have a personal concern with that. My concern with is just those two tandem parking.
We can certainly take
If we
this
can
back to-
justify that with the building department, I don't have a problem with it. But again,
Okay.
there's 3 other members here that would have to vote on that.
If-
But
if
they
that-
have no other questions? Can you press the microphone?
Whatever the situation's going to end up being, whether the door's being moved over or whatever, I would think that we would want at least 2 cement columns placed far enough away from the door if they can utilize it, but for no automobile can block the entrance.
That we can ask the building inspector.
Whatever the inspector directed. If that's the case, then I'd request that the application be continued to allow us to provide the information that the committee is looking for.
Okay, there's a motion to continue. Roll call?
Mr. Bacilli? Yes. Mr. Corrin is absent. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Yes. This is continued till October
25th.
25th at 4 p.m.
Thank
No
you.
further business.